kind of categories we have set up for these people. Well, that means roles they're going to play and that they can play, and what their open house duty or the duty back in Menlo Park during those 2 days are going to be. This is a terrible. So under here in the roles, we have quite a few roles. Somebody play just coordinating, that knows NLS software, that knows the time-sharing software, that knows the display hardware, the transceiver hardware, user references. We need to cover those at each session. And we also say there are these different sessions available. Well, let's jump down. God, how do I jump around? Jump down and look at this duty roster again, where we look underneath each guy and we realize we put a bunch of these code terms under there to say, okay, that's Menlo Park Tuesday morning, open house Tuesday evening, Menlo Park Wednesday morning. He knows NLS and time-sharing system. So these are the categories. And now I can go back and using that content analyzer sort of thing, I can set myself up fairly nicely. With special patterns. Like I can say, here's a pattern all set up, so it'll say, I want to see those people that are open house Tuesday evening. So I just can compile. Hey, it's working. I compile that successfully. I say, all right, let's see it. So it does. It says, open head Tuesday evenings, open house Tuesday evenings. Andrews, Evans, open head. You'll have to forgive me for getting slightly rattled when this thing started giving me trouble. All right, these 4 people are on Tuesday evenings. That's very handy. If I wanted to, I can go to a view that only shows me what category I was filtering out. And I can use another thing I call markers. I haven't told you about lately before. You've noticed that many times when I'm doing something to operate on some entity, I use this bug to point directly. Well, it so happens we have a feature we call marker, such that any place in a given file I can place a marker on a character and give it up to a 3-letter name. Then at any time in any command where it's appropriate to point and push this right-hand button to say select, I can hold the button down and enter that name and let the button up, and instead of it taking the character I'm pointing at with this bug, it takes the character for an operand that I had named, that I put that marker on a name. So off someplace I've got markers on patterns already set up for OTE, open house Tuesday evening and such. So I can say execute compiler from here, and I can type in open house Wednesday afternoon, OWA, and say execute it. It says I did. I say, all right, let's see what you've got. Oh, open house Wednesday afternoon. These are the people that are going to be there. Oh, what about open house Wednesday or Tuesday evening? The OTE. Execute. Open house Tuesday evening. So these kind of pattern matchers and markers and freezing statements and jumping on things give us a great deal of power jumping around and moving, jumping around and studying. Right. Okay. All right. There are other things to show here. I forgot that it didn't need to freeze here. All right. Design documentation for our hardware and system analysis records. I'll just jump very quickly to that, just to show you that we use the same kind of structured stuff in the design of our hardware, where here is the design of a buffer register, and these are the different components labeled by comments in a language that's going to digest this file and produce a wiring list. We can open up another level and see that underneath of these are all the logical equations. We can come in just as quickly as anything, search down, search for different patterns, jump on links, modify them, put them out, recompile them, we're back. All right, I think I'll skip the rest of these because time is crowding us. And I'd like to go to a little sequence here that is really a very important one. Now you've seen most of the way through here how this serves as a very powerful tool for an individual to work when he's studying Doing is planning, designing, debugging, documenting. But we also saw through the medium of leaving messages for each other and filtering them that people can collaborate quite well over a period of time by working on joint files. In fact, you can have a joint file and go leave a message and get a response in a matter of minutes because they're all available instantly by anybody from one of these terminals. But there's another degree of collaboration which is very important and which we're just going to be setting up in the next few months the hardware to do computer aid. But here we're going to set it up with a little bit of people aid too. So I'm going to establish a collaborative mode between me and another terminal. Bill Paxton's at a terminal back at SRI, and the first thing I do to do that, of course, would be say, hey, I'm going to, to call this command, we have to go into the executive mode and set executivity to a special level. Oops. And then continue with NLS. So that free demonstration of some of the versatility. All right, special command. I'd like to link to Bill, and I don't know what his terminal is right now, so I have to ask for somebody to connect me to him audibly. So Bill, will you come in through this intercom?
Hello, Doug.
Hi. All right, I need to know what terminal you're on, Bill.
13.
Okay, I'd like to have him see my text. And so this special thing, if I label 13, will switch over, so on his display he sees my text, so I'll execute it. And sure enough it does. But what's that running around? Well, if he's looking at my text, he'd like to have something to say about it. So we put on a marker, a tracking spot that he controls. So he's sitting there in Menlo Park looking at this text, and he can point to it. But we've carefully reserved for me the right to control and operate on this, so my bug is more powerful than yours. But we can have an argument. Yeah. That's what they call a bug fight. So, all right. So in case you haven't been listening, Bill, we've been going through lots of examples and setting up in collaboration here so that we can go on into information retrieval. And we've set up now audio coupling, and then we're both looking at the same display, and that'd be very handy to work. We can talk to each other and point, and maybe later I can hand you the chalk on this blackboard, like saying, here, you control it. But let's stay this mode now and add another feature that hardware-wise is available to the kind of display we have. I'd like to see you while I'm working on it. So before I can do that, I have to set up my display in a certain way. Set it up so I see it over like that. That leaves a corner up there, and I say, now computer, do the automatic switching that'll bring in a camera picture from the camera mounted on his console, such as the camera mounted on mine is. Hi, Bill. That's great. Now we're connected audio. You can see my work, you can point at it, and I can see your face, and we can talk. So let's do some collaborating. You're silent. Oh.
What do you want me to say?
Yeah. There's nobody here but a large audience, Bill.
All right.
All right. So let's go talk about information retrieval. And there are a lot of things I've been showing them and jumping around and finding your way, relating back to the portrayal I gave about NLS as an instrument on complex data structures. It shows them how we can get around and find things. I showed them the content analyzers to help locate things locally. You had a file kind of classifying retrieval stuff. Why don't we switch to it? Yeah, good. Hey, I can't point.
Oh, okay. You on 13 or 12?
12.
You're on 12, okay.
Yeah, you had executively set.
There you go.
Where am I? There.
There you are.
Great. All right. Now, talking about hot retrieval. That's, you're going to have to defend that.
You gonna give it to me?
Yep.
Oh, okay. We've been talking about retrieval all afternoon, really. That's one of the main things you're involved in doing. Every time you're changing a view, you're doing retrieval, really. I've broken it up here into two main categories. The first where you have a known destination, the second where the destination is unknown. These really present two different problems, and there are different commands in the system, naturally, to take care of these two different things. Let's open this up, take a look at what we have under here. Oh.
Good.
Got both direct and indirect. In the first, where you're making an explicit specification, and the second with an implicit. Explain what I mean by this. In the first case, you're actually able to point at what you want at the information you're trying to retrieve and move it into view. With the jump to identity command, you're able to point at it either by the cursor or by using a pointer, as you've shown. Jump to name, jump to link. Again, you're explicitly specifying by giving the name or having the name occur in the text. For implicit specification, by this I mean using information that's been stored by the system in order to specify where you want to go. In the first case, the information has been stored in the form of a memory of what you've been doing recently, so that you're able to say, jump to the view that I just previously had. So I can say jump return, and it'll take me back to the view, or jump return and I go to the view that I had just before that, or I can say jump ahead and move back down again. Jumps referring to the structure. By this I mean the structure of the file, so that you're able to say, take me to the successor of the statement I'm pointing at, or to the head of this branch. Things like that. Content analysis, we've covered quite thoroughly. Let's go on to the other main branch of retrieval that we're talking about. Here again, I've broken it into direct and indirect. This is the case where the destination is unknown. By this I mean you don't know where the information is, but you're able to describe it, or you know enough about it that you can find it either in a hierarchy or by describing it with keywords. By the use of a hierarchy here, I mean working down through the hierarchical structure of the file, making use of the categorization that's built into the file. This we've seen several times. Let's, just as another example to really make this clear, we've talked about the desire to get hard copy of a file, wanting to get something printed out. There's quite a large system that takes care of making a file for hard copy. You're able to specify how you want the hard copy to look by giving various directives. One of the things you might want would be Roman numeral page numbers. So let's go off to a directive file and see what the directive is to get Roman numeral page numbers. I'm into the file now. Here's the first level of the hierarchy. Let's open up page formatting. We want page numbering, so we'll open that up. We find, yes, here it is, Roman numerals. We find out the directive. Yep, your bug's right on it already, Doug. Here's the directive we want. So we've worked down quite a way into a hierarchy, as you can see. This is quite a nice way to be able to very quickly find what you're after. Let's go back to the previous file now. Look at this last type. By keywords and associative reordering, I mean the use of terms from a specified vocabulary to describe what it is that you're after. Perhaps the best way to show this would be just to draw a little picture. The keywords can be selected from a list. We'll put the list over here. You can have any number of keywords. I'll just put down that just to give an idea of what it is. And then we also, oops, I spelled that one wrong.
Need any help?
Yeah, how do you spell catalog? There it is. Is that close enough? There will be several items in the catalog. What we want to do then is select things out of this catalog.
What do the R's stand for?
Those are the numbers that are used just like serial numbers. That's my own Dewey Decimal System.
Oh, you mean reference 3, reference N, something?
All right, right.
Oh, okay.
And then the K, I guess, would be keyword, huh? How's that?
That's fine.
Each keyword, then, will point to various items in the catalog. So the first keyword may point to those, and then the nth keyword will point to other ones. And there will be cases where they both point to the same one. When I select a keyword, I'm specifying that all of the items in the catalog that it refers to will be pulled out and given to me. And in the cases where I've selected several keywords that refer to one particular item, that item will be given special preference and will be put at the head of a list. And then with that list of items from the catalog, I'll be able to use the other forms of retrieval and jump off and look at the items and then continue the exploration. Okay, let's actually go ahead and do that. I'll go back to the systems guide file. We mentioned earlier that there is a large part of that that's concerned with finding things. This is our documentation index for the NLS system. It's broken into the two parts, the catalog and the list of keywords. The catalog is just a long list that goes off the screen that contains links off to the various items in the documentation. There's actually an entry here for each procedure in the system.
Hey, this is the same file that Jeff was looking at, isn't it?
Right.
System guide for programmers to find things in.
There's your same picture. Let me get down here. There we are. See, the first part is the catalog. The second part contains the list of keywords. Let's open that up. They're again categorized into the various categories that you would want to use to describe what you're after. Let's look at file handling and open that up. Here we have the list of keywords that we can use to describe things that have to do with file handling.
The things in parentheses, the names of those are the keywords?
This is just a name that's used to keep track of it. The keyword can be referenced from any place in the text by this name. Then there's a phrase following that that's a little more descriptive that tells what it's about. Then following that, there's a list of the items in the catalog that are referred to by that keyword.
Yeah, you're only looking at one line for each statement, so you only see the first few. Right.
So now I'm able to actually select the keywords that I want to use to describe what I'm interested in. I can do that just by pointing at it. Then it writes the word up here, and another command to accept it. I can just accept file control, and I've already accepted file referencing. I'm able to... I'm also... We're still on?
Yes. We hear you.
So somebody hung up on us.
How do you say go ahead with a mouse?
We're on?
Yes.
Doug, you back? Doug can't hear yet? Oh, okay. So I've selected several keywords here. I can go ahead and give particular keywords greater weight. The weighting refers to how important that keyword is in describing what I'm after. So I can give this one a weight of 2, whereas this one previously will just have a weight of 1. That means that the items that are referred to by this keyword will occur earlier in the selection when we're finished. Okay, let's go ahead now, say keyword execute. This will go off and get the items out of the catalog and reorder them. And there we have the results. Now I can use these to jump to various places in the file. I'm still in the systems file. The item here is the name of the utility. So I can jump and get the information about that utility in the file, find out the various things about it, go back to the previous view, and now if I want to go off and get the information, I just do a jump to link on this. And here I have the documentation on that particular procedure. After looking at that, I can go back again and now I'm set up again to go and continue looking. I can look at the next item and here I've got the results on that. So I can continue to proceed in this way, looking at the various documentation and going back and continuing to explore, or I can re-specify the search parameters and look at new keywords. Well, Doug, I don't know if you survived through that. We had the operator, the telephone company, hung up on us, I think, halfway through. Are you still back on?
Yeah, I guess we better come back, and I'm sorry I can't say goodbye to Bill.
Oh, I can hear you now.
Oh, great.
There you go. You've been talking all this time?
I saw when you leaned over and hung up the phone for a while, so I couldn't interrupt you. All right. Well, thanks. I'm sorry that we're pushed when we're trying to describe each of the features in this system. This particular one, the keyword, is very powerful and could very well warrant a whole session or a whole paper on itself, because it gives us the power of keyword descriptor kind of organization, but with the added feature of giving weights to the keywords so the results of the search, as you see right here, are ordered, so that this one ended up meeting the most requirements and adding the most weight, and down here could be one that only associated with one of the descriptors and the lowest weight one at that. So you have an ordered list that's probably relevance. And then right with this, all the links. Use that as a link to go off to the file to find it. This is a directory of a set of procedures. So here's here's a list of procedures for those keywords he chose that all describe certain things about file handling. And this will take you off in the actual source code. Looks like Don Andrews wrote them all in his files. The name of the place in his files, and the views that you should open up, so that when you follow this on a jump to link, you just see, bingo, the overall view of that procedure. And then, as he pointed out, instead of saying jump to link, you can jump to a name within this file where these things have descriptive material about that too. So I think for the software guide, it's very powerful. And thanks very much, Bill. We'll
very good, Doug.
And the combination of techniques for getting around inside of the structured software files, and the way in which they're organized and the way in which the special purpose languages we've developed fit with the structure we've used, really give a very powerful set of techniques. And I'd really enjoin all of you who are software people and interested to come up and work your way through these, to have some of the software people during open house really show you what's what by taking you through that. Let me see my text, and I'll see what I can skip so we can get through in the time we were supposed to, like 10 minutes ago. Let me go back to that view. And they're purposely making that dim so that I'll hurry. All right. Other things we're going to talk about very quickly are the range of activities underneath in our program. And I will just go very quickly through these then. A service system development and user system development to talk about those a bit only requires me to establish a distinction between those two kinds of a system. Really, we've taken to splitting the overall man-computer system into this dichotomy of these two systems, where the service system is what appears at the terminal. When I push this button, I get that response. When I do this, I get that. It's the repertoire of commands and the services that organization of software and hardware and sometimes people gives to me. The user system is what's beyond that. Given all that, what do I do with it? What kind of conventions for leaving messages and for using the content analyzer and for organizing our files, and how do we use the links and the keyword thing? User system there, and this is something that is kind of a new element in systems research that we're trying to establish well, so that we can integrate that kind of user system work where the people's methods, the concepts they use, the procedures, the skills, all are developed in coordination with the kinds of tools that they have. Within our bailiwick, then, we also have an explicit activity we call management system work, where we are taking some project money and developing our own set of management tools to help us manage these 17 people and all these diverse activities in this complex system. And so we are beginning to develop some of those, and we'd be happy to talk to you about those during open house. And a forthcoming involvement is this ARPA computer network, the experimental network that's going to come into being in its first form in about a year and end up sometime later with some 20 experimental computers in a network. And they hope to be able to transmit across the country with bandwidths of something like 20 kilobits per second, delay times of less than a tenth of a second, which would be enough so that I could be running a system in Cambridge over the network and getting the same kind of response on a CRT. And it may be that people there, the next time we have a conference in Boston, I'll try this from there. And in that network, we're going to try to develop a special service to provide network information, relevant network information for people, for the kind of information that it takes to operate such a network. Who's got what services, what protocol do I use to get there, who's up to date, how much, where's the user's guide, where can I find the paper that describes this system that so-and-so offers. And that's going to be a very interesting challenge for us to utilize our tools for organizing and retrieving information. And the last thing here is just a little comment about, after all of this, what's the product that we're providing in this research? Well, we're providing a sample augmentation system, the one we use. And not only that, it's an augmentation system that's provided to augment computer system development. And beyond that, we also are hoping that we're developing quite a few design principles for developing augmentation systems. And these, I hope, are transferable things. Let me I'd like to close and give you some description of the support we've gotten from the different people to produce this and to acknowledge that. And back in Menlo Park, we've got quite a team of people surrounded by quite a bit of equipment that have been busy listening to us and trying to control and switch. And these monitors are up here where all the displays went. The cameras went for some use, and the displays go here so that they can monitor the different signals and switch and send us what one we want. All right. And I particularly want to give appreciation to Bill English, who has not only designed all of the hardware, or been responsible for the hardware and software development that gives us our service system over these years, but in the last few months put together the considerable network of intercoms and video switching and controls and mixers, begged, borrowed, and stolen, that would provide this show to make it come off like that. To the supporting staff, Ed Vanderreet, Martin Hardy, Roger Bates, John Yarbrough, and Steve Favola, who've just worked very, very hard to make all of this work out technically. Dave Evans in coordinating this and in managing the open house we're going to have. Don Andrews, Jeff Rulis, and Bill Paxton for preparing and presenting the material there. And beyond us, too, we've gotten a great deal of support from SRI with general preparation support. Stuart Brand from Portola Institute has volunteered a good amount of time to help us. He was in that picture of people there. John Dusterberry of Ames Research Lab was very kind, saving our life by offering us a loan of this I-4 projector. That's the machine that's projecting this video image up on the screen. We were just bowled over when we found out what sort of a display we could provide of what we're doing, and we very much appreciate the loan of that. And Gene Warren from TNT Communications, who handled this, we retained him to come and help us be sure it worked, and he's just been a tremendous spark plug, running around fixing paging system for us and Tasker Instruments, and it has done a lot extra work lately. The telephone company has done a great deal beyond what they needed to do too to fix this up once they found out what kind of a wild thing we're trying. And their video men yesterday were trying to help us out with phone circuits and all kinds of extra things. A very interesting credit to bring up next is Herman Miller Research Company. This is an affiliate of Herman Miller Furniture Company. And why are they connected with a computer show? Well, they've been bringing out some new office furnishings, and we've been very much interested in developing the whole environment for people working in a different way, and that means walls, desks, surfaces, console, and everything. We got so attracted to their line that they've started working to help us equip offices and study it like that. And one of their designers, Jack Kelly, came one day and spent a day working with us about our ideas about our control consoles as being separated from display consoles, and ended up making this on a chair that I can get up, move around, and sit down, and swivel, and rock, and lean back, and work very relaxed. So I think this is a very exciting stage. We've just gotten it. And in our open house, we have a full office that's equipped like this with this kind of a console that we're very excited about, and we invite you to come to. And without being formal, I'd like to really say that I'm backed up by a really very tremendous team of these 17 guys who have caught the spirit of putting on this show tremendously and have just done an overwhelming job about putting it all together, and about backing me all these years in this wild dream of doing this sort of thing. And they're all catching fire, and I want to just tell them all right now, I owe them a lot. And a very final credit goes to my wife and daughters who are out here, to whom I'd like to dedicate this whole presentation because of what they've put up with over these years, with a husband that dedicated in a monomaniacal way to something very wild. And so this whole presentation is dedicated to you four people there. And I thank all the rest of you very much for coming to the dedication ceremonies. Good day.